I really am starting to believe that Republicans enjoy being humiliated on national TV. They have just a little humiliation kink. They enjoy making themselves look stupid or foolish, or I guess it's just because they're in a cult and are willing to do anything to appease their God King and Donald Trump, and that includes defending the most indefensible of his actions. And that is exactly what Trump stooge and MAGA Republican Byron Donalds did today on CNN, defended the persecution of FBI agents who were a part of the raid of Mar-a-Lago, those involved with January 6 cases. It is disgraceful what is happening in our institutions to people who were doing their jobs and investigating Donald Trump's criminality. And Byron Donalds tried to defend that, but when he was fact-checked on CNN, he kind of just melted down, and we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I can quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means a lot to me. Now let's get into this disastrous interview for Byron Donalds.
At any time, worked on the January 6 or other Trump-related investigations. Last night, more than a dozen January 6 prosecutors were already fired. Joining me now is Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds. Remember, he was on that short list to be the president's vice president. Nice to see you again, Congressman. The Trump administration, they apparently want the names of those at DOJ who worked on the investigation of January 6, so it sounds like a purge is underway. And my question to you is, why should a rank-and-file FBI agent who was assigned to investigate the events of January 6, why should they be given their walking papers?
Well, it's good to be with you. I think what they're doing right now is you're having to go through and right-size this agency. Let's be very honest with the American people. It is without a doubt that the Department of Justice under Joe Biden was weaponized against Donald Trump and weaponized against conservatives. That is a fact. You can even look at the charges that went on to people who just were walking through the Capitol at January 6, people who weren't even violent on January 6, and they were supercharging those individuals to make a political point. Donald Trump talked about this on the campaign trail, that they were going to clean out the rot that is in the Department of Justice, in the FBI, and so this is the beginning of that process. At the end of the day, what we need are these institutions to not be a respecter of persons because of their political viewpoints or because of who they support, but that the only thing they are concerned about is equal justice under the law. If you look at the last 4 years of these institutions, that has simply not been the case, especially if you are a conservative or an America First supporter of Donald Trump in America. Those institutions have been weaponized against you. The president has a responsibility to clean them up, and this is the start of that process.
Okay, I'm going to accept for the purpose of this discussion what you've just said as being accurate. Let's assume that it's accurate. Why, if I'm an FBI agent and I was given an assignment, I never made the decision as to how I'd spend my time, I'm somewhere further down on the food chain, I'm given an assignment to go out and run down some lead relative to January 6, my name now shows up on a list and I'm going to get fired because I was simply carrying out my responsibility? That doesn't seem right.
Well, I mean, look, the first thing that's happening is what's going on in the political brass. That's why Kash Patel going over to be the next FBI director is critically important, because the political brass is where, to your point, a lot of these decisions were made. Now, if you're a ranking file, there's going to be an additional process for that. But you got to start somewhere. If you're going to clean out any institution, you have to figure out where the rot begins and where it ends, and that has to be your scope. And that's not just about FBI. It's not just about the Department of Justice. That's what would happen at any institution if they were getting off of their core mission, and especially if they were not being responsive to the community or the customers that they serve. That is a simple proposition that would happen anywhere in America. It has not happened in the Department of Justice or FBI, which is one of the reasons why those institutions have been rotting and getting off of their core mission, especially over the last 4 years, but we can go as far back as the Obama administration.
Congressman, surely you recognize the chilling impact in all of this. Who in the world in the FBI, if this takes place, is going to be willing to investigate any malfeasance alleged within this administration? People are going to say, if I now pursue what is reported as someone breaking the law who works for this president, I'm going to lose my job.
No, that's simply not true, because there's a difference between you have actual evidence that would lead towards an investigation versus, and no pun intended, trumped up evidence, which is exactly what took place as far back as the Russia collusion scandal. They lied to the FISA courts knowingly to open up an investigation into President Trump's first presidential campaign. They lied to the FISA courts. They were using misinformation. They were letting laundered, doctored evidence into that situation. And we have all the proof for that. Then you have to deal with the fact that, yes, during this current presidential campaign, the Biden administration and the Department of Justice were either working with or allowing these indictments, which were silly. Everybody knew they were political, but they were allowed to continue. They brought in Jack Smith. They raided Mar-a-Lago. I mean, I can go on. You cannot allow our system of justice to be degraded to such a degree, basically for politics, and then let it stand.
I hear you.
So it's not a chilling effect.
Let me just
real quick, and I want to add this point. I would add, for the rank and file FBI agents who do their job every single day, they were shaking their heads too, saying, what the hell is going on? We need this place to be cleaned up. So I would say for those agents, they would welcome this.
Just so you know, I myself have been plenty critical of Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and this whole process over several years. I'm not thinking about them. I'm thinking about a woman, a man in the D.C. field office who played no policy role, was given an assignment to go out and conduct an investigation, whose name now shows up on a list. It sounds awfully McCarthy-like, and they might lose their job. But I want to ask you about something else. The president now is going to impose tariffs on Mexico and on Canada and on China. The Wall Street Journal, not exactly a left-wing oracle, put up on the screen. Here's their lead editorial. They say if this takes place, this will be the dumbest trade war ever. Aren't we going to bear the cost for whatever tariffs he's imposing on them? And won't it be tit for tat, where they respond in kind on orange juice or bourbon, which is what the Canadians did the last time?
Well, I will tell you that the cost of the American people for rampant illegal immigration and for the illicit drug trade that has started with precursor materials in China to fentanyl being put together south of our border in Mexico and then trafficked into the United States, those costs have been significantly more damaging to the American people than this proposed possible trade war. At the end of the day, what President Trump is doing is that he wants China and Mexico and Canada to take our national security interests just as seriously as they take theirs. And when it comes to fentanyl, let's be very clear. The precursor material is from China. The tablets are assembled in Mexico. They come into the United States, and they are the #1 killer of Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. So Donald Trump told everybody on the campaign trail he's going to use every tool available to secure this nation, and this is a part of it.
Come back. I got to item 2 on my list. There were 7 other things, so I hope you'll come back and we can discuss more in the future. All right? Thank you, Congressman.
Anytime. Anytime.
Social media reaction from the world of X. What do we have?
It is really clear what Donald Trump and his shadow president, Elon Musk, are trying to do right now, and we're going to get more into Elon in just a second. They're trying to send a message. They're trying to get people to leave voluntarily. They want to gut the federal government. That is their plan. Not because they think that there's fat that needs to be trimmed, not that they think they can save money. Sure, that's what they're projecting out. That's the message they like to tell. But because it'll make it easier for them to install their loyalists. And that's what Donald Trump wants above anything else. That is what his sole focus is. All of this talk of DEI and the bloated budget is really about Donald Trump making sure he has people who will not tell him no when he commits further crimes and continues to violate the Constitution. That is what this is all about. And we're already seeing it play out with Elon Musk as well, who is one of the main causes of why so many high-ranking federal officials who keep our country running are leaving the federal government. And for more on that, I want to check out a clip from Rachel Maddow.
We're still in the early hours of understanding what this means, but I think this may end up being a very big deal. Today, the Post broke news that the highest-ranking career official at Treasury, a man named David Liebrick, is leaving the U.S. government, quote, after a clash with allies of billionaire Elon Musk over access to sensitive payment systems. So Elon Musk and his team of people have reportedly been asking Treasury for access to the payment systems that the government uses to pay its bills, to pay out trillions of dollars a year across the federal government, also payments to businesses and individual households. So if you're a federal worker, before your paycheck hits your bank account, it goes through this system. Same thing if you get a Social Security check or a Medicare benefit. Payments to government contractors, tax refunds, grant recipients. You get the idea. This is basically the government's checkbook at the Treasury Department, how they pay for everything. It's so sensitive that only a few career officials actually have access to use this system. But according to the Post today, Elon Musk and his team have demanded access to it as well, which led to a dispute with a very high-ranking career official at Treasury who's now quit over this dispute, who's now resigned. The Post says it is unclear what exactly Elon Musk's team wanted to do, why they wanted access to this incredibly sensitive system. One former Treasury Department official tells the Post, quote, "This payment system has never been used in a way to execute a partisan agenda. You have to really put bad intentions in place for that to be the case." I do not know enough about what this payment system does or how it works to understand the implication of it potentially being misused. But I will tell you, I have been watching enough of these red flags in the last 11 days to recognize that this is a very big one. And if the people in control of this very sensitive, very highly restricted system now do have bad intentions for what they're going to do with it, what does that mean? What is the scope of what they could do?
There is a very clear desire from MAGA to attack experience and expertise. And we see this with RFK Jr. The whole point of his existence is to sow doubt. His just asking questions bit, the same thing that we see from Tucker Carlson or we see from Joe Rogan, or these apolitical pretending MAGA media figures, these podcasters, is to sow distrust in institutions. Why? Because it makes it a lot easier when everyone believes that they're broken and bad for Donald Trump to say we need to completely clear them out and again install his own loyalists. MAGA wants to break institutions so that they can either get rid of them or fill them with their own cult members. And that is what we need to identify and call out. And it's what we're going to be talking about on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.